Today I'm going to be reviewing this Zipline kit that we recently purchased on Amazon. This is going to come with a bunch of different things inside. Essentially, it's everything that you need to get your Zipline set up. And this is all inside the box here, except for the cable, which we already took out. Now, one thing I do want to mention in regards to the cable, I've actually got it kind of strung between two trees already, just making sure on lengthwise. One thing you will want to note on this cable is that they do sell a variety of different sizes. So you will want to make sure that you measure between, if you're running from tree to tree especially, or if you're building something specific for like to go up and down. What we're planning on doing is we're planning on mounting it to this big tree here, and then we're going to run it over that way. But just make sure you measure, as the cable is going to be a specific length. Also, it'd be a good idea if you're running through trees or anything like that to grab yourself or rent or borrow someone's pole saw. I had to cut down some limbs here, just ones that are going to be overhanging where we're kind of running in between the two trees here. So this is what the cable is going to look like. It is just going to be a traditional, like a twisted cable. So that's going to be that there, and is designed to hold a good amount of weight as well. So next step is, of course, to go through the setup process. So let's get to it. Now, as we're going through the assembly of this kit process, one thing you should note is that this thing is actually going to have to wrap around your, assuming you're mounting it to a tree like we are, it is going to have to wrap around it. So you will need to make sure that you leave or give yourself enough room. So for example, we got the 100-foot one, and then we're wrapping around a pretty big tree, as you can see here. Now we're gonna go higher up with it, but where it's at now, if we had only done where we barely had 100 feet between this and the tree over there where we're going to end up at, then we'd be in trouble, because you do have to wrap around the tree with the one end of your wire. So just something you'll want to keep in mind is that you're going to need some extra length. So if you're right at the 100-foot, you're going to be better to bump up to a little bit longer option for that, or to find a different spot, because you will have to wrap the wire around the tree. It essentially just goes and feeds through the little eye on the cable. So it is installed. You can kind of see it there up the tree. We ended up having to go up higher than what we were originally. You can see that's where we were at with the green. We went to tighten it up. It just didn't have enough angle on it. So I went ahead and got this hooked up. I just want to show you, it does move on its own, and it's actually relatively smooth. So we did test it out, and I'll go down here to show you exactly the issue that we had, but you can see that it is going on its own. So the issue that we ran into down here with the spring is that there's not any instructions about like how far away it needs to go. And this spring doesn't have a really strong tension. So you can see here that when you're putting it under weight, it's going to go in a lot. And what actually happened when we had, my son was on here, and he's only 9. So he swung and actually swung like almost right into this tree. And even though our spring is going to be, I'm going to say 3.5 foot away from the tree, it's still, because of the swing on that swing, he swung into it with the spring, because that spring compacts to probably about halfway, or maybe even 3/4 of the way up on there. So it comes with those 3 things. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go and we're gonna grab a couple more, and we're gonna move them out here so the spring actually stays a couple of feet further away from the tree, just that way when that part swings in, then it's not an issue. So that is something you'll want to keep in mind. The hardest part, truthfully, was getting that part tight. That just took us time. We had to move that up on that end, and then we came down on this end. We ended up having to kind of ratchet it back, almost like using just strength. Ultimately, we set up a ladder here in the middle and just pulled it this way on the one while another person was here. So it's definitely not a one-person job. You definitely need at least 2 adults to be able to get this together, and then this little thing is going to turn to make it even tighter. So it does work really nicely. The spring actually does stop. I would prefer if that spring was going to have more, I guess it was a little bit more stout, so it didn't compact as much down into it. So, but overall, definitely a really nice kit. Love the fact that the kids are going to be able to play with this little set now. So overall, definitely it was going to be a great buy for our family.